Hey, Polka Dot Powerhouse sisters and our friends across the globe. It is Shannon Crotty, founder and CEO of Polka Dot Powerhouse, here with another incredible managing director interview. Today, we are blessed to have the beautiful, the talented, the passionate Beth Walker with us. Beth, thanks for being on today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Beth, before we start, I'm even going to have to, this is ridiculous. I have to look down to make sure I get the chapter name right. It is the longest name chapter that we have, the San Jose, Morgan Hill, South County chapter of Polka Dot Powerhouse. And tell everybody where you're located.
We have our chapter is in the Silicon Valley, in the south part of Silicon Valley in California. We have meetings in San Jose and we have meetings in Morgan Hill. So we're in both locations. So
They're everywhere, y'all. They're everywhere.
yep,
So I
taking
am
over the world.
taken over. I'm blessed to know lots and lots about Beth, but I'm assuming most people who are watching may not. Beth, why don't you tell everybody watching a little bit more about you, who you are as a person, and what you're passionate about?
Well, let's see. I could start off with my husband and I have been married for almost 44 years. We have two beautiful kids who are both married and who have blessed us with six grandchildren. So the six grandchildren are 13, 11, 10, 9, 8, and 22 months. So every year somebody was having a baby. They're all done now. Let's see. What else about me? What I'm passionate about. I have my full-time job, which is my print shop, but if I could just do polka dot full time, I would be the happiest person in the world because it's where I it's where I excel. It's where I feel like I'm supposed to be. Um, I tell people all the time, I think I get more out of it than our members do. And I feel guilty about that, but I just try to pass that on. So I'm really passionate about polka dot and about helping other women find their way.
Okay. And you led into it because we have a couple different things to talk about today, but since you led into that, and by the way, I love that. I love one of the things when I was thinking about our interview today, one of the things I remember my very first impression of you is this girl, this lady's all in. Like she's just all in. I remember at your launch, and of course we met before that, but I stayed at your house and I got to witness you both when you're on, and I got to witness you behind the scenes. And I was just so impressed with how dedicated you were to our processes, to the members, to the whole system. Like it really, not that others aren't, but yours was just on a different level. It was so impressive to me. What do you think of, what do you think it is about the community that made you want to go all in?
Well, I was all in before. And I think a lot of it was just I had been looking for this type of community. And I found it. And then a lot of people know my story, but when I witnessed and was a recipient of that dot love when we needed help when my husband got hurt, that for me just absolutely solidified everything that I even ever thought about polka dot. This is my life. This is where I need to be. And I don't care if I'm 104. I don't care what position I'm in. If I'm just a member, I don't care. I will still be a member. It's just something that I just feel really passionate about.
So, and I love that. And by the way, whether you are a member, whether you're in the leadership, no matter what it is, you are so loved in our community. You're so valued here that you are always going to be one of the most sparkly people because people can feel that from you. They can feel how much you care about our community, and it means a lot. It means a lot more than you probably know. So
Mhm.
what do you say to people who say, oh, it's a networking group and you get together once a month, right? Like, what do you say to people who say that?
Usually I say, you know what, we hear that a lot, and come to a meeting, and when you walk away, I guarantee you're going to say, this is not what I expected.
Right.
It's just so much more. And we had three guests at our last meeting that all three joined, and they all three said the same thing. I didn't know what to expect, but it wasn't this. And this is what I've been looking for. And so
Yeah.
that's my main goal, is for when people walk away, they're they feel like they're loved, they're appreciated, they're seen, they're heard, that they actually mattered when they came to that meeting. One of the things I tell our members all the time is, you may have days where you're like, oh, I don't know if I want to go to a meeting or not. And you should just show up. just show up, we'll love on you. And by the time you leave, you're going to go, I'm really glad I went.
Yeah. So when you meet someone new, how, like what you just described is what it feels like to be a member. It's very hard to describe a feeling, right? Have people, like if I have a lipstick or I have a hairbrush or something, you can try it, right? But to
Mhm.
describe how a community can enrich your life, to describe how something feels, can be very difficult for people to digest. How do you describe polka dot if you meet someone new as to, okay, tell me what this dot thing is?
Yeah, I usually I will usually explain to them that it's more of a sisterhood or a tribe than it is networking. That the networking kind of comes organically later on, but if you're joining, if you're looking for something just so you can come in and sell, this is probably not the place for you. But if you're looking for that friendship and that support, and I love the fact that, one of our sayings is we all go up together, because it's true. When one person is kind of struggling, the rest of us can kind of help you go in. So a lot of times when I meet somebody, I'll tell them all of that, and then I'll give them examples. Like I'll tell them a little bit of my story, and I tell them, this is what happened when you're part of Polka Dot. I will tell them the story about Sue and Marie, that they never knew each other before Polka Dot. They both met at one of our very first meetings. They're both founding members of our chapter. And it ended up that they are now the best of friends, to the point where we call them Thelma and Louise. So I tell them that's what you find when you get into Polka Dot, whether it's in our chapter or another chapter, it could be somebody across the ocean. You're going to find somebody that you just will connect with.
Right. Absolutely. I was gonna say Thelma and Louise. If you guys don't, if you're watching, you don't know who um, Sue is. She won the Impactor Award last year at Celebration. And Marie, I don't know who's Thelma and who's Louise, but Marie, anytime we have our positivity call, it's like you can't say Marie without saying the beautiful Marie
Yep.
Lamontia, right? Um,
Mhm.
they are, I don't know how two people that sweet got put on the earth in the first place, but
Mhm.
how, I mean, I love that we have a part in their story as friends, because they are two of the kindest people I've ever met. And the fact that they found us through Polka Dot, that they developed a relationship, and that they're really blessing the rest of us with their place on this earth is it's just really surreal to me.
Yeah, it's great to see, and it's great to watch. But they tease about it all the time during our meetings, that they're Thelma and Louise, and it just does my heart good to know that these two women just found each other. They would, if it hadn't been for Polka Dot, they never would have found each other. I believe, and I just feel like that's what we're all about, is bringing those women together that just need to be together, that are just of the same mind, of the same, they've lived parallel lives, they're about the same age, there's just so much about them that are so alike, that I don't know that they would have ever met, and I'm so happy that we were kind of that conduit for them.
Yes, and like that is a great, their friendship. It's just amazing when you're in person, like at Celebration, you see them together. But what was really remarkable to me was when Sue was announced as the Impactor recipient. And people, that was at the end of Celebration, an awards gala. And people, as they were leaving, we were saying goodbye, taking pictures, things like that. All kinds of age ranges, younger members, middle-aged members, older members, all said, you got that Impactor Award right. I love Sue, right? Like, so one of the things I love about Polka Dot, that was a good testament, is that it doesn't matter what your age, like we can all grow together, we can all be friends, we can all learn together, support each other, because you never know what life is going to throw you, and you can't always control that. You can control your reaction to that, but being friends with people of different ages and being different diverse categories can really help you grow as a person. Even you don't need to change, like no one wants you to change, but we all have areas we're trying to grow in, and being exposed to women who have different experiences and they're in different parts of their life really contributes to growth. Do you agree with that?
Oh, I totally agree with that. We have I want to say probably our youngest member is probably in her 20s, and we have two older women who are in their 80s. So, we have everything in between. And I love the fact that they all come together, and I see them all the time on Facebook that they're going out and having coffee. And I'm just like, just does my heart good that they're actually out there and connecting with those people and getting to know each other. And it just, like you said, it doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter the color, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter what you do. You can still go out and have coffee and have a friendship with them. So I
Right.
love that.
Yeah, I think as humans, we tend to be really attracted to people the same as us. But you can also train yourself to really see how many benefits are to being around people that are different from you, that have different opinions, that have different experiences, that, all of those things, like it really, like I mentioned before, it just grows you in ways that you didn't expect.
Yep.
And then your brain starts to see every human as a blessing and as a growing opportunity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Beth is not only she's not only a very valuable, loved member and a managing director of one of our chapters, but she also serves on our legacy leadership team, on our celebration team, and she handles the sponsorships and the advertisements. One thing I know is leadership is a blessing, but it's not always easy, right?
Mm,
Like, no category of leadership is always easy, right? Because whether going the first one through the wall is always bloody, right? But I think of leadership as a lot about protection and protection of those that you lead, and going first and making sure it's safe and all of those things. What do you think leadership is about?
um, I I firmly believe in leading by example. And so for me, leadership is that leading by example, doing, you know, doing what's expected of you. Well, first of all, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So um it is what it is. So I feel like being that leader, you can't always make everybody happy. It's really easy to piss everybody off, but it's really hard to keep everybody happy. And so one of the things that I think as a leader is you kind of have to look at the whole picture and figure out, does this really make sense? And I tell our leadership team and our chapter all the time, this is not my chapter, this is our chapter. And so if something comes up, we will talk about it as a leadership team. And if we feel like it's something that we need to move forward on it, then we'll bring it to the chapter and say, hey, what do you guys think?
Right.
Most of the time as a leadership team, we'll come up with an answer. It's may not be the answer that I would have come up with, but we come up with it together and try to figure it out. And I think that's all part of being a leader is, I mean, because whether it's Polka Dot or my business, it doesn't matter. You're dealing with people and everybody's different. And I think as long as you give everybody a place at the table and let them have their say,
Right.
I think everybody feels valued, you know? And I think that's probably the most important part of being a leader is not ramming it down their throats, but allowing them to have their say. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when you're picking leadership team members, what are the qualities that you're looking for you? So in case people who are watching are still trying to figure out what Polka Dot is and all that, our chapters all have leadership teams. And what's interesting about that, and no disrespect intended to any managing director, but some managing directors, you got to convince them, right? Like maybe they're still people pleasers, right? Because we're all human, and they want to do it all themselves. I'm like, how does that feel like sisterhood to run it all by yourself? So for us, it's important that maybe not immediately, but very quickly, our chapters have leadership teams. And I always encourage, and I think I did this in our interview as well, it looks different for each chapter, right? Like what I need for a leadership team is meant to balance me and areas that are not my zone of genius. And what you have for a leadership team is meant to balance you. So it's not going to be a cookie cutter leadership team. It looks different for each chapter based on the managing director and what their Achilles heels are, right?
Mhm.
What are the qualities that you look for when you have built and continue to build your leadership team for your chapter?
Well, a lot of it is just finding the right people for the right position, and talking to people and getting to know them. And finding out, because like you've said in the past, and I always love it, is that, take your 3% that you're good at and let somebody else do the other 97%, because if you try to do that other 97%, you're going to screw it up. It's almost a guarantee. So it's basically finding the right person for the right job. And then, even then, in our leadership summits that we do once a year, when we get everybody together, all the leadership team together, we actually have boards and we say, okay, this position, this is what this position does, and this is what this position does. And so we split them all out and we talk about each position and go, does that make sense? Or maybe this person might be better at that part of that, so maybe they do that. And so we talk about it together and come up with a plan together as far as how that's all going to work. We always try to, do something during our leadership summit to find our strengths, because not everybody knows what their strengths are. And sometimes we see the strengths in them, but they don't, so we try to encourage that also. But the leadership team that we have now is just top notch. I mean, our membership has been growing. We've got wait lists for our meetings because and I'm not gonna, it's not me, it's our leadership team is just really, they're coming together and they're really jiving and making everything just work. And I couldn't do all of this without them, really and truly.
Right. But it's them, it's you guys as a whole, but I want you to be able to give yourself some props because you have the courage to see them and to trust them and to build a team, or for some people, that's just a way, way scary thing. And so they like resist it. So yes, it's all of you, but that has a great deal to do with you as the managing director, as the leader that it trickles down from, having the courage to allow it to happen. So, thank you.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Yeah, it really and truly is them though. It's I mean, I may be the facilitator of it, but they're the ones who are coming up with the ideas, and they're the ones who are saying, hey, this is what we need to do, and we talk about it and all of that. So like I said, I couldn't do it by myself. There's no way.
Absolutely. Nor should you, and nor would it look like sisterhood if you did it all by yourself, right? So I'm kind of I'm a person that's a bit obsessed about messaging, and I'm always like, how does that send that message, right? Like, does it send the message of sisterhood or does it not? And I think that probably one of the many reasons that your chapter has such great success is that you are sending the message of sisterhood, like with that leadership team and many other things that you do. And so it's not, sometimes we just send a slightly different message and then all of a sudden there's enough hesitancy with someone that they just freeze or they don't
Mhm.
move forward and they just kind of keep watching from the sidelines, to where I think that if we're continually working to make the message clearer so that people can grab that message easier, it's much more easy for them to see themselves in our community. So I want to applaud you for that. This
Thank
is
you.
just a curious question because I'm a curious person. And there's no wrong answer here. Do you think leaders are born or leaders are built? Meaning, do you think everybody is born with the ability to lead, or do you think it's something that is taught, and is practiced, and it's like a muscle and it's conditioned?
Well, if you'd have asked me this question 30 years ago, I'd have said, there's no way I could ever be a leader." Um, I went through some stuff with losing my mom, and before that, I didn't have a voice. I'll tell you a real quick story. My husband and I went to a downtown, it was an outdoor, like a festival.
Mhm.
And we were walking through, and I was like, he's 6'3", so I kind of like walk behind him and go, who's that? Who's that? Who's that? And a couple of years later, we went to it, and every booth I stopped by, I knew somebody at them. So I stopped and I said hi to them. And he says, who the hell are you? I go, what do you mean? And he goes, how do you get to know all these people? And I said, well, I've been doing networking. And I
Right.
said, oh, by the way, I said, I used to be Kurt's wife. Now you're Beth's husband.
That's awesome. And what do you contribute that to? What do you contribute that change to? I mean, because
Well,
obviously you always had a voice, it just wasn't being heard.
right. And that's, like I said, I honestly 30 years ago would never have believed that I could have done what I'm doing now. And if you ask Sue Allen, she will tell you exactly what I was like 20 years ago. But I worked with my friend Stacy Weber, who's also a dot, and she helped me find my voice. And once she did that, I was just like, wow, I really do have a voice and I really can do this. I think I between finding my voice and just getting my feet underneath of me and really getting that confidence, because I didn't have that confidence before. And I think part of it is that confidence, just knowing that I'm doing the right thing, and not necessarily I do the right thing every single time,
Right.
but I'm at least trying, you know. And I think that was, for me, that was a learned thing. It was always there, but I
Right.
had to learn how to work with it. And I tell her now, you know, you've let the cat out of the bag and it ain't going back. So
No, I love that because I'm making the assumption, but it's got to feel really good to, I mean, because again, I know that voice was always there, but like you said, you didn't have the confidence, but now you have the confidence to be heard. And like you said, none of us get it right all the time. Actually, most people, myself included, get it wrong most of the time, but we keep getting up and keep going. And I know it must have benefited you, but look how it's benefited even our community. And we're just one of the many aspects of your life. It's just how much you've benefited our community by being here, by having the courage and finding the way to let that voice be heard. Like you've benefited all of us. So that's a great thing.
well, thank you. Yeah, I really couldn't have done this 20 years ago, but I feel like now and I still have days where I'll sit back and go, "Ooh, I shouldn't have said that." And, you know, I'll feel, you know, really horrible about it. And I'll feel like, I'm not going to do this again, you know, and I'm, no, damn it, that's not who I am now.
That chatter, right? Yeah, yeah.
That itty bitty shitty committee. Yeah.
Ab- Absolutely. Absolutely. So circling back to sisterhood,
Mhm.
I am doing some research for a book that I'm writing, and a lot of that revolves around how many people are lonely. And like, I think that the time period that at the time of this taping, it's June of 2024. We just 4 years ago got done being isolated. And I'm not sure still everybody, I mean, I think everybody's working very hard, the best that they can to recover from that experience. But I think in some ways it taught people to be more isolated and to get comfortable in that. But then you see a statistic that says that at least 60% of women confess to feeling lonely on a consistent basis. So we've got some ground to make up here. A lot of people like don't quite understand how sisterhood's important. Why do you think sisterhood's so important?
Oh, I think, you know, I think you have your spouses, you have your partners, you have your families, but they don't give you what a sisterhood would give you. They will tell you things what they think you want to hear. They will, you know, argue with you. They'll, you know, whatever it is, that whatever that relationship is. And I think a sisterhood is more of just being a friend and being there for each other no matter what. No matter how, my friend shared a graphic with me the other day about the fact that, you know, that it was all about, you know, you're there no matter what your size is, no matter what your weight is, no matter what you look like, whether you're wearing makeup or not wearing makeup, or if you're in your PJs and your slippers, you're still a friend and you're still there. And I think that being accepted for who you are and where you are, I think that's probably the most important part,
Yeah,
is just knowing that all you have to do is pick up the phone and call somebody and they're going to be like, "Hey, what's up?" You know?
right.
So, or they're checking in on you, you know?
Yeah, I so agree with you. I mean, I think about it like I often describe being with Tina, my sister, who sent me the name for Polka Dot, um, as being like, if you take a deep breath, that's what it felt like to be with Tina. And that really what that's saying is that I knew if it was, if her view that day of me was, ugly or pretty, or I was a mess, or I was on fire, or um, I was in doubt or whatever, like it didn't change her lens of me. And I think that, you just said it in different words though, but being able to be yourself, I think, we all need those other connections, family, partner, if you have that, pets, all those things. But it's just different. A sisterhood is just different. They see you in a different lens, and it's almost a freeing lens because there's not a lot of expectation of that living day in and out, you need those people too, but a sisterhood is very freeing if it is a true sisterhood, in my opinion.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You can do whatever you can just spill your guts if you need to. You can hug, you can do whatever you need to do to feel better and to make that other person feel better if that's what's needed. I love that part of Polka Dot, is just that sisterhood part.
Absolutely. And for me, one of the things that I see a lot happening in our sisterhood is that the lens of possibility, meaning if I said in the members group, it is not, like you said, friends will call you out if they need to call you out. But if I said in there, look, guys, I really want to be an astronaut, they might say, we'll investigate this and this, but they'd all say, okay, well, like, how can we make that happen? Or let's just say it's not possible at this point. How can we give you something that's a similar experience? Like, it wouldn't be the looking you up and down, like, are you insane? Like, what's happening? It would be like, okay, how can we give you that or a similar experience so that you can feel like you've experienced that, because it's obviously important to you.
Yep,
I love
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, I end, and a lot of people end conversations with me too, is how can I support you? Just let me know what I can do to support you. It doesn't matter whether you've got an idea or not have an idea. It's how are you doing today? Okay, how can I make your life better?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that I don't even know who originated it, but a lot of us, myself included, and our member connects that way. How can I support you? For a lot of people, they say out loud, ooh, that's a hard question. I don't know. I don't get asked that a lot. I'm not sure what to say. And I'm like, well, you know where I'm at when you figure that out. Or I sometimes say, well, if you did know, what would it be? Right. That's not a question people get asked a lot.
Right.
How can I support
Right.
you? How can I serve you? And to
Mhm.
me, we need to bring that back, or bring it the first time or whatever. We need to make it where that's a
Yes.
normal thing that we are saying to people. And that's a normal thing for them to hear, so that they don't have to freeze when they hear it. They know exactly the answer, or it's not a foreign thing for them to ask themselves.
Right. Exactly. Because
Yeah.
that's what we're all here for, is to support each other and go up together.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I agree. Well, is there anything else that you'd like those watching to know about Polka Dot or about you?
just that I just so love being a polka dot, whether it's being a polka dot or being a managing director or being on the legacy team. I just it's where I feel like that's where I belong. And I just feel like I found my home. And even my husband, after everything happened and we got our support from Polka Dot Powerhouse, he's had times where he wasn't able to drive and he would take Uber, and he would literally walk in the house and say, Beth, come here. You need to meet this gal who gave me a ride home. Talk to her about Polka Dot.
Tell them I said thank you. Tell them I said thank you. So
We
Beth,
had three people like
I'm
that
sorry,
so
go
far.
ahead. What? What was that?
I,
I missed it.
I said, we've had three people like that so far.
Tell Kurt I said thanks. I appreciate
I
it.
will. I will.
So,
He
uh,
understands the value.
yeah, that's great. Like, and I know it's common for us to hear from partners and stuff that I didn't understand it, but and maybe some of them still don't understand it, but she comes home happy or filled up or whatever. So I keep encouraging her, you know, go to your polka dot meeting because you always come home so happy, right? So that's a good thing to hear. That's a good thing to hear.
Yeah.
So where can people, if they're like, this Beth lady sounds pretty cool and I need to know more about her, in addition to finding you through our directory for our members on our website, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, and we have all of our Polka Dot Powerhouse Facebook groups that you could find me in those. But I also have a Calendly account, so you can always find me at calendly.com/HillviewDPM for design print media. And that's if you want to schedule a connect with me or something like that. So, but I'm out there. You'll find me.
Well, we absolutely love you, and I hope that you know how much that we love and value you, and I appreciate the time today. So
Thank you.
thank you, Beth.
Thank
We will be back with another managing director interview in just a short amount of time. Until then, have a great day, and we hope that you are finding joy wherever you are.